I think small businesses and startups should not be afraid of hiring consultants. I think there are folks that are go-to-market experts that will come in for 2 or 3 months and really accelerate where you're at, teach you the things that you need, and fill those gaps.
After a very insightful pre-show chat, welcome back to the next episode of Revenue Reimagined. We are stoked to have with us today John Sarver, who is the co-founder and CEO of SaasLogic. John is a U.S. Navy veteran, thank you for your service, who is currently working in startup land. He's got experience ranging from logistics, distribution, health tech, fintech, near and dear to my heart, and more. And based on that, is in a unique position to help companies with their software needs. We'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit about what SaasLogic is, and maybe we'll even talk about my crazy hotel background and where Dale thinks I really am. John, thanks. Welcome to the show, man.
Adam, Dale, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the next little bit to chat. Thank you.
Awesome. Dale, notice how he said Adam first.
Yeah, well, we have to give you a little bit of credit because you do all the setup work. He is the voice of the radio. You have a voice for radio, so we got.
I have a face for radio
for
too.
print. Sorry.
So, John, we like to kind of start with a lot of our founders on what your journey was. Like, why did you start SaasLogic? What was that aha moment? And giving some motivation to founders to kind of jump in with 2 feet.
Yeah, well, I think. One of the motivations is really, I think there's a lot of folks in the entrepreneur world that just enjoy the smaller companies, being their own boss, being able to set their own schedules. I think that's a lot of sort of that, why people lean into entrepreneurship and why they see that as a better lifestyle choice than working a 9 to 5 for like a McDonald's or a Nationwide Insurance. SaasLogic sort of came about. A company that I partnered with and I've worked with in the past, Expeed Software, has just built a few tools for customers in the subscription and revenue management space because the existing tool sets couldn't handle their billing, couldn't handle their the way they wanted to sell their products. So we built a few tools custom for folks, and then our CEO of Expeed Software, Rao Chajarla, was like, you know what? Why don't we do this ourselves? And Rao is a founder's founder. He's founded a successful IT services company. He's founded a couple different SaaS businesses. So he knows the landscape, the ecosystem. And then because of the success in those other areas, he had the team ready to go from a development standpoint to start building SaasLogic as a product, which always helps when you have a team of seasoned engineers behind you, when you have your kind of crazy napkin idea at a bar, like, let's do this. And so we just got together a couple of years ago and decided to charge forward and take what we've learned in the past with Expeed and the other projects and say, let's build a tool that will be the best, craziest. You bring us the most off-the-wall billing scenario you want and subscription scenario you want, and we're going to see how we can make it work within our ecosystem.
I love that. And I want to dig into that a little later, specifically like some of the crazy scenarios you've seen and your success rate on being able to build a billing platform that supports those. But one of the things I find super interesting is like every founder's journey is different. Most founders start with, they worked for a startup and then they moved into like, they have a better idea or they're fresh out of college and they get into YC. Your background's a little unique, right? You served in the military. You were on board big giant ships, which we could talk about a little bit. And then you decided to come over to Techland. Talk to me a little bit, like you get out of the military. Why tech versus like, I don't know, going to be a cop or something?
Well, one, I'm not very good with weapons. So let's just get that out of the way. It kind of goes back. My bachelor's degree from Ohio University was in management information systems in the late 90s, so pre-Y2K. And so I always had this fascination with the internet from its infancy. I remember HTML1. I remember when the blink tag got released, how excited I was that you can now just make text blink on a screen. Joined the military right around September 11th. That's a story for another day. But while I was even on my ship, I found and gravitated towards other technology nerds. And we ended up on the ship building a couple of classic ASP applications to help our sailors do better within their testing and kind of manage sort of the advancement area for our ship. And so I always gravitated towards it. I always found it. The problem is I'm not good at doing it. I'm really good at talking about it, and I'm really good at having fun conversations and dreaming with people. And I've been very fortunate in my life to be surrounded by technology folks that can take what I think of and then translate that to actionable product. When it was time to get out of the Navy, I did what everybody does, and that's run for the first job you can find. And I enjoyed getting placed into logistics and distribution, and then with Target, and then a large company with Time Warner Cable Media. But then the itch came back. I'd settled in Ohio, and I started to be like, I'd love to get back into it. And then, believe it or not, Columbus, Ohio has an amazing tech ecosystem, an amazing startup ecosystem. I was able to make a few friends in that world, and then I haven't left. I've sort of bounced around to a few different places, and I've been, kind of in the same space now for a few years, and I love it. It's every day is fun, and I think that's why entrepreneurs love it. It's while it's challenging and painful, and some days you don't sleep, you get to have a lot of fun along the journey.
Would you ever wear red and khaki again?
No. Like, red and khaki though, no.
No Target colors anymore?
No. Target was a great experience. And it was honestly, when you think about like how things work and why things work, it was the perfect transition for me. I lasted about 14 months, so it wasn't the longest tenure, but it was, they're very military friendly, very operationally focused. And so transitioning from that shipboard life, because I got home off of my ship and immediately became a civilian. Almost like overnight, literally. So from a 7-month deployment. So Target was a great landing spot for me, and I learned a ton. Then when I had the opportunity to move into cable media sales, I took it. And that's, obviously they all play into kind of the learnings and understandings that helped mold who I am today.
I love it. So
over your journey as this kind of fresh entrepreneur, new startup kind of vibe, there's some, I'm sure you've already run into some challenges that you've gone through. What are some of the setbacks that you've had over the last year and a half that have set you up for success in something that you were not expecting?
That's a great question. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to pause to make sure I kind of get it right. I think one of the biggest challenges is always how soon do you get the product in front of customers? Like how quick do you get it out? And I'm of the mindset that you should always get it out as quick as you can to start getting that feedback. And sometimes we have some internal headbutting where our engineers are like, let's just do a little more testing. Let's do a little more of this. Let's do a little more. And so I would say some of our biggest struggles has been that sort of internal battle of hardcore engineers who are great at what they do, getting them comfortable with it's okay to put an alpha product out and get feedback that is critical and feedback that might not be what you want to hear. But ultimately, it's very important for our customers to know that they've helped guide us on our product journey and then ultimately building the tools that they want.
It's we talk about this one a lot, the balance of, do you ship product now or do you wait till it's perfect? Like, how do you balance that, innovation versus execution? And, I've worked with founders who are of the philosophy of like, it's not shipping until it's pristine. And you miss a lot of things when you do that. Conversely, I've worked with founders who will ship code that probably shouldn't be shipped because it's not complete. And I think the balance lies somewhere in the middle. Go ahead.
And I think it depends on what it is and how important it is to the ultimate product. Like there's a lot of little things you can ship and miss, but if you're launching a huge feature, like we've got some new ones coming to that's going to allow for WhatsApp integration and whatnot within our platform. You can't miss with a WhatsApp integration. Like if our customers are expecting an invoice notification to go out via WhatsApp and it doesn't fire correctly and their customers don't get the invoice, that's a huge issue. So that feature's got to be rock solid. That feature has to be tested through QA, user acceptance testing before you push to prod. But changing around how our notification types look on a screen, maybe that we can kind of do a little bit quicker, a little more shoot from the hip. But
100%. And I think that finding that balance is really important. When you look at SaasLogic, so we work with a lot of founders, right? And we do a lot of pricing work, and everyone thinks that their pricing, their product, their billing is a snowflake. I think most of them aren't. But not every product can be, billed monthly or billed annually or billed quarterly, or there's no, pauses. Talk to me about like how crazy and complicated you've seen it get, and why there really is a need. And I think that's actually critically important in today's day and age to step outside the box of me saying, John, the only way you can buy my product is if you pay annually or pay quarterly. Otherwise, I don't want your business, period, the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of flip it a little bit because I think the problem is most people think they have to fit within that construct of gold, silver, bronze, monthly or annual billing. And so we want to let the founders be creative. Think about what is the service you're providing, where is the value at in your offering, and then extract as much value as you can, to ultimately make as much money as possible and provide great support. A lot of what's important in the concept of subscription revenue management isn't just complex billing, but it's ensuring that the customers have a great experience, because a saying that I like to have is our customers' customers are SaasLogic's most important customers. If they don't get their invoice and they can't pay their invoice, then our merchants aren't very happy with us. To kind of answer your complexity question, it's fun when you start talking to folks that can blend both usage-based and flat fee. A lot of them, they want to have some kind of flat fee just to keep people interested, having a little bit of skin in the game by having a monthly $20, $50, $100 fee, depending on the service they're offering. But then being able to tie into their actual production systems and start pulling out usage-based variables to allow for a better, match of price point, because most of their customers don't want huge monthly rates. They want to pay for consumption. And so that's where I think it's great to find that balance of enough monthly fee to keep people engaged with your product, and then finding where those products have the ability to pull usage based on, so that way their customers are getting value out of what they're doing, not just paying for access.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wouldn't give founders too much flexibility. A lot like people that are trying to build like really complex pricing models, like Adam and I will go in, have conversations, and sometimes the simpler the better, right? It's like they want to create all this exotic pricing models. Well, Adam always tries to make me have exotic pricing models. But I think there's
I understand where you're going.
Yeah, I think there's an evolution, right? Like you got to start somewhere, but then once you have an understanding of how the market's reacting to your pricing, now you can modify it, change it.
Yeah.
And
100%.
That was just a thought process I had. But the real question I have is, have companies that you're working with started to ask you to map the billing process to value that they're able to generate somehow and kind of marry the two together? Like, we're billing you at $1,000 a month, whatever it is, but the value you're getting is $10,000 a month.
Are you talking specific to what they're paying for SaasLogic, or how they're billing their customers?
No, how they're billing their customers, and like how they can show.
Yeah.
Because the challenge a lot, like after this whole big thing of like grow at all costs, it's not like, no, you got to grow sustainably and responsibly with value that you're delivering to your customers.
Well, I think and you guys can feel free to disagree, but I think when you look at especially the early stage company ecosystem, there's been a shift in what VCs want. So when you look from a funding standpoint, they want a little bit more, we have a path to profitability, where in the past it was almost, that sounds cool, here's some money. And so what I've been seeing and hearing from early stage founders is a little bit more focus on where is the value for their customers. And it's what I love to do, is to sit down with founders. So I think to answer your question, that's a part of what I love about my job with SaasLogic, is I do have those conversations about, what kind of pricing model can you create to extract, a nickel here, $1 there, $50 here, to make sure you're gaining everything that you can without outpricing the product. We've had conversations with folks as well. They're like, well, there's no way our customers are ever going to pay that. I'm like, well, okay, then don't do that. That's a bad idea. If your customers are going to not want to spend $1,000 a month after the usage base is calculated, that's probably not the pricing scenario for you.
People buy from people. That's why companies who invest in meaningful connections win. The best part? Gifting doesn't have to be expensive to drive results, just thoughtful. Sendoso's intelligent gifting platform is designed to boost personalized engagement throughout the entire sales process. Trust me, I led sales for a Sendoso competitor, and I could tell you no one does gifting better than Sendoso. If you're looking for a proven way to win and retain more customers, visit sendoso.com.
I hope that answered your question, Dale.
Yeah, no, it did. It's just something I started thinking about, because we struggle when we start having conversations with founders. You got to have the value that you're delivering for whatever you're trying to price, right? So we have that same conversation. Exactly. I'm like, what should our pricing be? Well, let's talk about the value and work backwards into your pricing.
Yeah. And that goes into a lot of, when you talk to founders, what are they delivering? What is it their product does? And then most founders also get about 80% right. And then when you start seeing how people are using their product, they learn what that other 20% of value is. And then it's figuring out how to capture that value in a subscription management sense, to get that recurring billing that everyone loves recurring billing.
100%.
We all do. Every company out there. You touched on something that's near and dear to my heart, and you said that VCs now are leaning more towards a path to profitability, right? It's this growth at all cost mentality doesn't exist by and large anymore. I still think there's a few founders who believe in it, and we know we've seen that movie. We know how that's going to end. But with that, specific to the building of SaasLogic, like balancing growth and sustainability is oftentimes difficult for a founder. You have to balance this, like we got to scale, we got to do better, we got to do more revenue, build more product, all these things we have to do. But shit, like funding's hard now, right? Like Series A isn't $1 million anymore. So we got to keep money in the bank. How do you manage that balance? And I'd love to, if you're willing to share, talk about some of like the hard choices you guys personally have had to make.
Well, a little bit of a cheat code. Again, I think I mentioned at the beginning, our founding, one of our co-founders, Rao Chajarla, founded Expeed Software, another company. So we're still self-funded. We haven't had to go the route of raising capital yet. It is on our roadmap, and we have a growth plan to hit certain benchmarks before we go out for capital. And those benchmarks did get harder because of the shift we've seen over the last year in the VC world, where we need to be a little bit larger, a little bit tighter in some of our operations to show that profitability. But we've been very fortunate, from a funding standpoint, to have the team behind us, supported via Rao and others. So I don't know that I have any true hardship and challenges. I've got friends that are founders who, they're working 6-7 days a week, 10 hours a day. They miss family events. They're constantly doing that hustle, and I see that struggle, and I appreciate what they're going through. I think one of the hardest things for founders, to kind of maybe answer your question a little more abstractly, that I've always seen, it's that balance of time. How much are you investing in fundraising versus building? Because usually you're a small team of 2, maybe 3, maybe 1 nowadays. And my friends that are founders, CEO types, spend probably at least half their time building pitch decks, practicing pitch decks, pitching VCs, figuring out who to pitch, going to a networking event, and then they're not building their product. They're spending the rest of their time getting updates and filling in gaps. And then the CTO of somebody else that's there is executing on that vision. And I don't know that that's what most entrepreneurs sign up for. I think most entrepreneurs sign up for building the cool product, getting customers excited about what their dreams are, and then watching that happen. And so they're stuck in this mundane finance world that, I don't think many people want to be in.
It's totally true. Yeah. You get stuck in the cycle for sure, especially as a founder. Your background in the military is interesting because I think a lot of challenges with some of the founders is leadership. And so how have you evolved leadership from the military into the organization to help, sustain, grow, manage the team?
That's a great question. Thank you. One of the biggest things you learn in the military is that, a leader is just a helper of individuals. Everybody that works with you and for you is unique. They all come from different life experiences, which the military was great for me growing up in Ohio. I got to meet people from around the world serving in the U.S. Navy. A lot of the sailors I work with are from the Philippines, a lot were from Puerto Rico, a lot from every state in the Union. So you really get to experience different cultures and really learn the important lesson that nobody's the same and we all see the world differently. And so from a leadership perspective, then you have to take a step back. And it's not a one size fit all. Here's what we're doing. Everyone march. I think that's a misconception that, the military folks are all like, we're going to march together. But the reality is that we're marching together because our leaders look at us as individuals and incentivize us and motivate us, unique individual to our needs. And so it's the same thing in startups, especially when it's smaller teams. Your CTO is going to be completely different than your whoever's running marketing. You can't just go in and talk to the CTO and the CMO the same way. And that was a lesson that I learned in one of my first startups here from Steve Cashman, was the CEO of a company called HealthSpot that I was at. And he brought me into a room where we had an IT guy and a developer, or I'm sorry, it was a UX guy and a developer into the same room. And that was my harsh reality about the difference between the creative dreaming of the UX team versus the black and white of the development team and the clash. And he did a great job translating what I learned in the military to the startup world of just everyone's unique, build out your processes to maximize the individual, and then success will come.
Yeah, we talk a lot about leadership and the difference between leadership and management, right? And like management is
Yeah.
for factories. Anyone can manage a process or tell
Mm-hmm.
someone what to do or how to do it. But
Yeah.
leading people, helping people, and getting people to follow you
Correct.
is a different conversation. I had a leader once who told me, like, your only job as a leader is to get people to basically be running a run through a brick wall for you. And
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that by being an a-hole. You have to
Yeah.
do that by lifting people up and helping others. I think that might be why no one follows Dale. I don't know.
Yeah.
A whole separate conversation for
I
another
would.
time.
Yeah. We'll have to have that one.
I love it. But one of the things I'd love to dig in on is you're not, by your own admission, like you're not a go-to-market expert, right? Like you're not going out there and
Yeah.
crafting complex go-to-market strategies. Where do you turn to, like, as a founder who isn't,
Yeah.
the in-depth, GTM machine? Where do you
Mm-hmm.
turn to? And with all the bad advice out there right now
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn, and there is
Yeah.
a shit ton of bad advice out there right now,
Yeah.
how do you determine what advice you take and what advice you're like, man, no chance?
Yeah, I think the sarcastic answer is I just asked ChatGPT. Not to joke.
Mm.
And then the other
Well, we
Dale's
talked
sarcastic
built
about
a whole
answer.
business on that.
we talked about
My other,
hallucination earlier, so
yeah. My other sarcastic answer to that is I've got friends in low places. So, I've been fortunate. I'm a little bit older, a little long in the tooth. Got, friends that have done things and experienced things. So I feel very fortunate to have a network that I can reach out to. I think small businesses and startups should not be afraid of hiring consultants. I think there are folks that are go-to-market experts that will come in for 2 or 3 months and really accelerate where you're at, teach you the things that you need and fill those gaps. And obviously that's capital dependent, whether you have the capital outlay for that type of service. But we have found that that's been tremendous. We've utilized experts in the kind of the marketing go-to-market space to kind of help us fill the known gaps. But I think the most important part that goes with that, and I hope you don't mind, it's founders like Rao and I and the rest of our team, we're very honest about where we are and what we can do and what we can't do. And you obviously are going to overextend because there's just not enough money to pay for all of it. But there are certain areas that are so key, especially go-to-market, that you have to be willing to, if you don't have that experience, find people in your network or find consultants to help fill that.
that's super good. I think there's many people that are going through these challenges. I think they either have to know it because they just have to know it, or they take advice from people that are saying you have to go hire somebody full time, which then you think it's capital intensive if you're hiring a consultant. And if you're hiring people that are specialized, obviously you got to get the right people on board. I think it's a little tricky now because a lot of people say that they have had experience, but then you start working with them and they haven't. So I think that also can be a bit tricky as well.
Yeah, and it's the nice thing about consultants is, and don't take this the wrong way, but you can always fire them. If you don't like them, it's a lot easier to get rid of a consultant than it is an employee. So
we feel the same way.
Dale
sometimes.
a consultant instead of a partner. Mm.
Did I hit an infight there? A little?
Hey,
but you're.
Listen,
we can
change this arrangement.
Listen, no, yeah, you're right though. I think we talk a lot specific to us that we're operators, not consultants. Consultants have a bad name, right? Like we don't trade money for slide decks. That's crap. We don't trade money for time. At the end of the day, like we have to deliver outcomes. But you're right. If you're not delivering, happy to show you the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's important for people to know that you may have to pivot, you may have to go through a process, but always looking through and evolve through your processes. How do you guys deal with some of like you and your co-founder working through some of these challenges? Because I have to deal with Adam all the time trying to figure out what we should be doing. And it's like he gets 2 votes and I get 1. And so it's always not fair. So how do you guys come up with a resolution and kind of drive it through the organization?
My other founder gets 2 votes and I get 1. I'm you, Dale. Me and you are twins. I'm very fortunate. I've worked with Rao now for over 6 years. I consider him a good friend. And then the other folks that are on our team, Benish and Anoop and other folks that have been helping for a while. We've just had this level of trust. that we all know we all want the same thing, even if we approach it from different perspectives. And at the end of the day, I can't think of a single decision to where I've been told, no, John, we're not doing that. And I wasn't like, okay, I disagree with you, but okay. There are some features that I think are very important that I want to see them improve fast. And I haven't been able to, do my job as a sales guy to sell internal.
Get a customer.
At the end of the day, though, I
make sure the customers want it, and then
that's
then
the mistake I made. I need, 100% should have gotten that. And I've gotten a couple prospect calls where they asked for it too. It seemed like now even our prospects are asking for it. But at the end of the day, when you look at, kind of going down the product development standpoint, there's always more features than you can build. Even when it's self-funded, you can't just have 100 developers on a startup until you get to a certain size. And so when it comes to trade-offs, it's just honest, open conversations and knowing that we all want the same thing at the end of the day. And not listening to Adam. Yeah. I would say, Dale, just ignore Adam.
Oh, man.
There's actually a mute button on Teams. I don't know if you've ever used it, that you can actually mute people. My friends have used that on me. So sorry, Adam.
We don't be sorry. I mute Dale in calls all the time.
It's dangerous.
It is. Man, John, this was insightful. I appreciate you joining. We appreciate you joining.
Thank you.
Before we let you pop off, we would love to. We're going to do some rapid fire.
Stretching.
Here's the rules. 10 words or less. Otherwise, you get to spend a day with Dale, and you don't want to do that. So 10 words or less.
There's not a chance I can do anything in less than 10 words, Adam, but I will do my best. That was my
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, I'm 47. I'm a neither. Sleep in, go to bed early.
If you weren't in tech, what profession would you be in? Can't be in tech anymore.
If I can't be in
or
tech?
the military. You can't go back to the military.
I want to work for the Columbus Crew soccer team.
Nice.
I don't care what. There are people that more than 10 words. See? Columbus Crew soccer.
I love it.
What would be the one word to describe your startup journey so far?
Ridiculous.
Ooh, love that.
Could be both positive and negative. I'll let you guys interpret which way.
What's the first app you check when you wake up in the morning?
X.
He didn't even say Twitter. Look at that.
I'm a convert.
He's converted.
What is your favorite guilty pleasure snack?
Ooh, my mom makes a cookie called pizzelles. Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
Under 10 words.
Pizzelles. Yep.
It's an Italian type cookie. Yeah.
Nice.
Last one. Let's wrap it up. Where's your dream vacation destination?
Venice, Florida.
Venice, Florida. That's right down the street from me.
I know.
Come on down.
I saw that. I go a couple times a year.
Do you?
So
you'll have to let me know when you come down. Venice is a great spot. See, Adam, the west coast of Florida is the best coast. I keep trying to tell him. He doesn't want to listen.
We're already planning on retiring there as soon as my kids are up and out of the house. We love Venice. We've got family down there, and ice cream on Venice Avenue. Venice Avenue Creamery is one of my favorite things. So,
listen, the West Coast is great. I certainly agree. John, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it. This was super insightful. Yeah. Where can people find you? Where could people learn all about all that you do, man?
Yeah, well, thank you guys both for having me. I'm on LinkedIn, John Sarver on LinkedIn. You can obviously search for SaasLogic or search for my name to find me. SaasLogic.io is our website. And just as a thank you to anyone that's listening to the podcast, if they make it over, I would love to talk to any potential customers you guys through the podcast. We're going to offer 6 months free for anyone that comes via your podcast. So thank you for having us on. Just all they have to do is mention, hey, Adam and Dale are great. That's enough for us. And then
Dale is great. Adam's okay. Dale's great.
Adam's okay. Actually, let's Dale. I'll throw an extra month on for you. If they say just you, it's a 7-month deal.
Oh no!
What?
He is going to use that is going to make its way all over LinkedIn. I'm never going to hear the end of this one.
I'm cutting a clip and playing it on rewind and replay.
All good. I appreciate it. John, thanks so much for joining, man. Dale, thank God I'm done with you for the day. Take it easy, y'all.
Yes.